Welcome to the We Are Women Empowered podcast, where our goal is to empower you to create your best life now. Here's your host, Nikki Ubaldini.
Welcome, everybody. It's Nikki Ubaldini, and we are Women Empowered. And I have a very special guest here, Lindsay Rimes, who is going to tell us about her journey to life, meaning she had an amazing miracle happen in her world after she was told she was probably never get pregnant. And it wasn't just her. There was her and her husband had health issues, and she's going to talk about her journey and her life and how it's changed, and about their new beautiful bouncing baby boy. So
yes.
We're going to give you that hope, world. We're going to give you the hope, because here she's going to talk about it. So Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I feel like this program is part of sharing light and sharing love, and I love what you're doing. And so I thank you for selecting me to be part of that process, because I think it really means a lot to share this story. You know, I was in a situation where 3.5 years I was trying to get pregnant. Even from when I was young, I always thought that I would have 4 or 5 children. I thought I would have a family by the time I was 27. Then 30 rolls around. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. You know, I had a great career and I was successful and happy and things like that. But it really didn't kind of go how I thought it would and how I sort of planned that it would. And I'm going to be 37 in a few weeks. I just had my first baby, which I'm very excited about. You know, there were really tough moments that I went through over the years, thinking that, okay, maybe it's not in the cards for me, and maybe it's not going to happen. And there were several different pieces to getting to where we are now. And one thing that I look at through my journey of life is, you know, it's a combination of different tools, right? I feel like God gives us a toolbox, and he puts people in our paths, and he puts situations in our paths that are meant to help us to live out the plan that he has for our lives. And so I think it's about just recognizing those tools that he's giving you. So I look at mental, I look at physical, I look at emotional, and I look at spiritual. And one of the things that we decided to do was to go to a fertility specialist. And that was probably a little over 2 years we had been trying when we went to the fertility specialist. We found out after the whole series of tests that I had an underactive thyroid. We found out that Brandon had some issues as well. And we decided at that time that we were going to do what we could health-wise. We were going to kind of explore spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, things that we could do. But one of the things that we decided was we were going to put our faith and trust in God. And if we were meant to be blessed with a baby together, then he would make it happen. We do have a daughter from Brandon's previous marriage, and you know, we've always felt really lucky and blessed for that. And at that time when we got the news, then, you know, you may never get pregnant, we thought, well, you know, we're going to start this journey. We're also going to start the journey of getting licensed to foster children. And we felt very strongly, and we still do, we still want to foster. We're taking a time to just settle in with the little one now. But we have passed our professional parenting. We're still in the process of getting licensed and things like that. And we felt strongly that there's a lot of kids in need, and we want to love on them, and we want to help them in their journey as they.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. So
Yeah.
Here you got this devastating news that
Yes.
you may never get pregnant.
Yes.
Because of your health issues, because of Brandon's health issues. Yet you did not give up hope that you could have a baby. And you also took the other route of, you know what, whether we're blessed with our own baby, we're going to help other children. So you took both routes. You didn't
Yes.
say it was an or, you said it was and. And I
Yes.
want people to hear that it's okay to have an and in your life. You can do both things. You don't have to pick or choose, but you chose both. And I love that about you, because you put your heart and soul into everything. And can I just take a step back? You're going to be 37, and that's considered older in our world now for having babies, correct?
Yeah.
What do they call it?
A geriatric pregnancy.
Geriatric pregnancy at 37. Yeah, 36, whatever you were when you had that baby.
Yeah.
So you made some lifestyle changes, not just physical, but everything. It's so much. But you mentioned to me that you took it in bite-sized pieces, and I want people to hear that. So can you just share that with us and your journey?
Yeah. So I found out I had an underactive thyroid. I actually had been having symptoms for a long time. And I'm a strong worker. I have a great work ethic. I owned my own business by the time that I was 22 years old. I ran a sales firm for 13 years. My team and I did 40 million annually in revenue. I was traveling all over the country. I've always just been somebody who takes on a lot. So when I started to get tired, when I started to feel some of these symptoms of having an underactive thyroid, I explained them away. Of course, I'm tired. I'm doing all of this stuff, of course this, of course that. And I remember closer to when I got that, those numbers from that blood work, I had looked at Brandon one day and I said, I think that I'm depressed. And that was really strange for me because I love life. We built our dream home. I was accomplishing things, and I just everything I ever wanted, was hitting all of these goals. And I thought to myself, how on earth could I be depressed, right? And when I found out that I had an underactive thyroid, that is one of the symptoms is depression. And I was like, okay, this is starting to make sense to me. I had severe exhaustion. I mean, on a daily basis, I was taking 2 to 3 naps a day, trying to keep up with everything that I was doing with work. And I'm not a napper. I mean, like, even to this day, having a 10-week-old baby, I don't nap. I'm not a napper. Okay. So I have always been somebody that's interested in alternative holistic health. I am so thankful that we have the medical advancements that we have. I think there is a place for pharmaceuticals. There's a place for hospitals. They are a blessing for us. My mentality is I want to try the natural route first if possible.
Right.
So I decided for me that I was going to, for 3 to 4 months, try changing my diet and try doing, this different type of energy healings and different things to reverse the symptoms, get my blood work to where it needs to be with the TSH levels for the thyroid and things like that. I talked to some friends and some family. I have a few friends and family that were able to overcome the underactive thyroid the natural way. I have some that went to pharmaceuticals. And I said, I'm going to give myself 3 to 4 months. If I don't see the symptoms changing, I'll try the pharmaceuticals. And I know that the natural way takes a little bit more time. It's not a quick fix. And I think, in general in society, everybody wants this instant fix. But I knew going into this that, hey, I might deal with these symptoms at a higher level for a little bit longer. But for me, it was important to try that route. And that's what I did. I just took little bite-sized pieces. I took it one day at a time. It was a drastic change in how I was eating. And I allowed myself grace. I said, you know what, if I fall off the wagon and I don't do this 100% of the time, but I can just do it at least 60% of the time. And then the next week it was like, can I do it at least 70% of the time? And then the next week it was, can I do it at least 80% of the time? And I kind of worked myself up to it. Whereas within the second month, I was like, 100%. I went probably 3 months, like 100% eating this certain way. And then as my symptoms started to kind of get in check, then I would allow myself, okay, I'm going to go, have a glass of wine with the girls, or I'm going to, eat pizza. I love pizza. It's not good for me, but sometimes you got to have pizza. So, I just kind of did it like that. And it was easier and more digestible for me to take it that way.
I want to ask you, because some of us, when we try to make a change, we beat ourselves up when we fail. I loved you said, I gave myself some grace. And I just want to touch on that. I love how you said, I went 60%, and then I tried for 70, and then I tried for 80. And I just tried to be, instead of perfection from the get-go, you went for progress. And I love that you said, I gave myself grace. And you also trusted your body, because these are things where our bodies can tell us a lot. You chose to do the medical medium route, right?
Yes.
For healing of the thyroid. And I would love for us to come back on another podcast and have you talk about the actual route. I mean, like what you did every day, how you changed your lifestyle. And I know Brandon had some help, and we can talk about Brandon too, because I think he did some things. It was both of you making a commitment. But you made that decision first in your mind, and you had to get your mind right. So let's talk about all of that. Like you said, it's this isn't just, I changed my diet. You started with, I had to change my mindset. Then I had to make a commitment. Then I had to spiritually be okay with it. And I had to give myself grace and love myself through my imperfections, which I love that. So talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, well, first of all, anything that you change, even if it's a little change, even if it's only one change every day for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, is better than where you started. And I think that you have to focus on the positive of that. And you can always look at the negative. You can always choose to say, well, I didn't do this, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do this. You could also choose to say, okay, but I did this. And that's better than where you were at before. And I truly believe that it is a choice how you choose to react and you choose to respond. I will tell you that when we got the results of, the challenges, the health challenges that both Brandon and I had physically, it was a very emotional day for me. I'm not going to say, I always just have this faith and this great perspective. I mean, I cried, like uncontrollably cried to a girlfriend, and we drank a whole bottle of wine that night. I mean, it was not like I've always got it together here. You know what I mean?
Human. You're human. Come on,
Yeah.
You're human. Okay.
Yeah. But the next day I picked myself up and I moved forward, and I focused on what I know. And I know that God has blessings for my life. I know that He has a plan for my life. I know that if I was to be blessed with a baby, that's part of His plan. And if I wasn't to be blessed with a baby, that is part of His plan. And I will tell you that in the middle of all of this, my husband had to have open heart surgery. He had 100% blockage in the main artery, and then an 80% blockage in the other artery. So he had a double bypass. And so there's something about, like, you can only do what's in front of you, and you can only do the best with what you have that day. And I feel like if you take care of the little things in front of you day to day, the big stuff long term is going to take care of itself. And I think it can be so overwhelming when we look at like this big, huge, goal or whatever it is, right? It gets overwhelming. So I think it's just piece by piece, right? So where do I have to be to approach each day and make the choice to be more positive more of the time than negative. Well, for me, I know what works for me. It's meditation. It's surrounding myself with the right people. Um, that's huge, right? I mean, I seeked out very strategically in my life the past 2 years the right women in my life. And I've never been somebody who has a lot of great women friends. I've always hung out with the guys. I'm not a dramatic kind of girl. I like easygoing. I'm very chill. And so I always just got along with guys, really well. Uh, as I grew through the years, it became really evident to me that I needed a support of women, just because there are certain ways that women tend to think, and to have that support and that tribe, if you will, was really important to me. I made decisions to get part of a Bible study. That's something in my life that I wanted the right type of woman, and I start from a faith foundation. And as a person later in years, you're not making friends at school, you're not like taking these classes and finding these people, right? So, how do you find those people? Well, you decide what's important to you and what's going to help you get the right mindset, and you surround yourself with people that start there, right? So it was surrounding myself with the right people. It was, like I said, the meditation piece, the physical part of making sure that I was exercising. I work out a lot. I worked out through the whole pregnancy. Do I want to work out? No, I don't. I really don't. I mean, I get up sometimes at 5, 6 a.m. I've been working out for the past 4 weeks. I get up, 2, 3 days a week at 5 or 6 a.m. and I go work out. And I don't want to work out. Not any day that I get up, I don't want to do it. But I find the motivation and I do it because it's not just about me and my health, right? It is because I want to be there for my family, and I want to show up at my best. But I want to be around for my children. I want to be around for my children's children. So there's a responsibility that I feel to take accountability for my own health, and nobody is going to work out for me. Nobody's going to food prep for me. Nobody's going to make these decisions and do these things for me. And I think a lot of times we wait around for people to do it for us, and it never happens. There's this funny story, and I don't really know the full thing, but it just kind of, the general idea is like, there's this guy in the middle of the ocean treading water, and a boat comes by and is like, hey, can we give you a hand? And the guy's like, no, God's gonna save me. And the boat goes by, and then a paddle boarder comes by and is like, hey, do you need me to bring you to shore or something like that? And the guy's like, no, God's gonna save me. And then a life jacket goes by, and the guy doesn't take the life jacket. Says, no, God's gonna save me. And then the guy drowns and goes to heaven. And he's like, God, why didn't you save me? And God's like, well, I sent you a boat, I sent you a paddle boarder, I sent you a life jacket, and you didn't use any of them, right? He's like, God's like, I tried to save you, and it's sometimes it's something really simple, and it's right in front of our face, and we don't take advantage of it,
You're saying we got to do our part. I mean, God is there for us, and he is going to help us through these things, but we have to take some of those steps ourselves. We can't sit on the couch and say, God, fix me. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to change my diet. I don't want to meditate. I don't want to get my thinking right. I'm not going to surround myself with wonderful and loving people that support me and give me the positive energy that I need. But I expect you to fix me, God. So that doesn't work, right? I mean, that's what I've heard. Now, interesting, you had mentioned to me that on your journey, not everybody was as supportive about you taking the natural health journey to heal your body for potential pregnancy at the time. Tell us about that and what's happened.
Yeah, so that was a difficult thing for me to go through. There was somebody really, really close in my life that, I spoke to multiple times a week and just respected and loved. And we have a lot of love for each other. Of course, they still respect and love them. However, when I decided not to do the thyroid medication and to do the pharmaceuticals, I had a conversation with that person and said, I'm going to try 3 or 4 months this way. If I don't see improvement on my symptoms, I'm open to trying the pharmaceuticals because, like it's a tool, right? God put that tool on earth for us, and maybe that was the tool that I needed. I'm open to it. I'm open to all possibilities in my healing. Okay. But first, I'm going to try the holistic route if I can.
You're going to give your body a chance to fix itself, which is, it can, right? I mean, our bodies can fix it.
I believe our bodies are designed in a perfect way to heal themselves. Now, sometimes you have to get something out of the way in order for your body to be able to function how it should properly function. And maybe there's a tool that isn't natural that you have to use for that. Maybe it isn't, right? But I'm open to it, and I believe my body is capable of healing itself. Unfortunately, I no longer have a relationship with that person since making that decision. It's been 2 years since I've even had a conversation with that person. And that person had thyroid issues. They are still on thyroid medication to this day. It's been 17 years. That negativity that came from them of, you're never going to get pregnant. This is the stupidest decision you've ever made in your life. All of that was fear based on what they have gone through. And actually that negativity was coming from a spot of love because they love me and they don't want to see me suffer. Their hurtful words and, anger and all of that stuff is more about them than it was me. And I just have to look at that and say, that's their thing. And this is my health, right? And this is my decision. And it is about me. And yes, there may be people on your journey that are going to question you. They may be mean to you or negative with you. And, it's really about keeping the perspective of, who is this really about? So that negativity is about them and the healing journey is about me. And really, I think that when you sit quietly with yourself, you have a gut feeling. And I think that it's important to trust your gut on which way you want to go.
You made a comment though, when we sit quietly with ourselves, Lindsay, that's something that many of us struggle with.
Yeah.
That was a part of my healing journey, was learning how to sit quietly with myself, and A, listen to my own body, and B, listen to the voice of God, listen to my intuition, which I believe is the voice of God. So that's a very special gift that you have given yourself, because you slowed down a lot through this. And I know you were into meditation before having the baby, before getting pregnant, but did you intensify that? Did you focus on that more? Did that become more of your daily ritual than it already was? Or did you just embrace it as it's just part of my journey?
So I don't think I increased the amount or intensified it, but I changed the direction, or kind of like the goal of why I was meditating. It became about the baby and really embracing the journey of being pregnant and enjoying the journey of being pregnant. It became about preparing my body for the birth. So the meditations and the quiet time that I was spending with myself was stretching sessions, listening to my body on how I needed to stretch and how I needed to move my hips that day to start to create the space and make sure that when I was ready to give birth, I could have this special moment with my baby when he was ready to come. And so the intention, I guess is the right word, the intention of those meditations and sitting quietly was to get from God, from the universe, from nature, what I needed to be healthy on that journey, to be prepared when it was time for delivery, to stay open to what God and the universe had in store for me. So, yes, I have meditated for a long time. I started meditating and getting into energy healing when I was working at a really high level in my sales firm. I had started to have some health issues, and so I really leaned on getting more into meditation to overcome some of those health issues. So I had a great foundation, so that when I went into the pregnancy, um, I I knew what I was doing. I just was able to change the intention of those sessions.
So let me just take you back just a second here. So you get this. You've been on your journey trying to get pregnant for 2.5 years. You go to a fertility specialist and you get these devastating information from the tests that many people would have said, well, forget it, we're never going to have a baby, and just, not do anything, just accept that, which that's an option, that's a choice. We get to have those choices. To you and to Brandon, that was not an option in your mind. We're going to do, yes, God may or may not bless us. However, we're going to do our part to see if that makes a difference. So from the time that you were told it may not happen because of both of your health to the time you got pregnant, how long was that?
It was like, I think it was about 8 or 9 months, give or
Wow.
take.
So in reality, it wasn't that long.
It wasn't that long that we were told, like, definitively it may not happen. And right in the middle of that, he had an open heart surgery.
Right. He had open heart surgery about 4 or 5 months into that, right?
Yeah.
Which that was a surprise. It was oh my gosh, and it was a family health issue that he had. Thank God that it was discovered.
Yeah.
Because he was a very young man and having a major surgery. So it's not like, that could have derailed many people halfway through their journey and said, okay, well, then we're not supposed to, because this is God's message that we're not supposed to do that. But you said, no, we're going to stay on our journey. Both of you stayed on your journey, and you were blessed about 8-9 months later to find out you were pregnant. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How cool is that?
It's cool. God performs miracles every day. And I truly believe that is a miracle that we got pregnant. I'm so thankful and grateful. And, it's funny. I knew the moment that I conceived.
Well, that's exactly what it's all about too. It's special because you never gave up, meaning your hope, your faith, your physical contributions, whether it be exercise, food, your lifestyle. You didn't let the outside world, not that it didn't hurt you when people said mean things or whatever, but you didn't let it change your mind. You didn't let other people infringe on your beliefs or your decisions. As you know, the great book, The 4 Agreements, right here, it says, don't take things personally. And because it's not about you, it's about them when people say things. And I think you made that comment. It wasn't about me. It was about their own fear. And I always think of this book when people, something bad like that happens, or, hurt happens from somebody else. So I love the fact that 8-9 months later, here you have this baby boy. You go through this amazing journey that you documented on Facebook of this baby pregnancy, the baby growing. You had a thought process of doing a home delivery, didn't you?
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
So I actually started out with a birthing center. I talked to my husband and just, I wanted to do a more natural kind of thing. And I thought he was going to be like way on the hospital side, and that I was going to be like on the home birth side. So I thought, well, let me explore some birthing centers because that's going to be like in the middle of where we're both at. And I felt like I would be open to a birthing center. So, I interviewed some different birthing centers. We went and saw one. We decided to do that. At some point during the pregnancy, I felt as though they were not aligning with where I was at and what I was wanting for the birth. And just energetically, it just wasn't feeling right. So I decided probably like 6 months into the pregnancy that I was going to start interviewing midwives. So, it was probably like, people were like, she's really crazy because she's doing a birthing center. Now it's 6 months, 7 months into her pregnancy. She's jumping ship and going to a midwife, right? And she's going to do this home birth. You know what? I'm just somebody who stays open to all the possibilities. And I actually built and designed our home. It's like a sanctuary for me. When I thought about delivering my child and bringing him into this world, I felt like I had so many beautiful things and tools at the home. I have a little gym, I have a TRX band, I have the ball, I've got a beautiful bathroom with a nice tub to labor in. I'm very comfortable at my home. I just love my home. It's beautiful. It's on a lake. I thought, what a just calm, beautiful way to bring him into this world. And so I wanted to do that home delivery, and that was my thought process. And I talked to my husband. I said, say that.
Go that way though, right? I mean,
it didn't. It didn't go that way. I went into labor at like midnight. I was having like super strong, intense contractions from like the moment I went into labor. My midwife came over. I was laboring until 9 a.m. that next morning, just like intense. I mean, and I was doing everything. Like my midwife was like, I cannot believe you. Like textbook have done like everything I would tell you to try. She didn't even tell me what to do. I was stretching. I was on the ball. I was moving around. I had the oils go. I was like just doing everything. And I looked at her at 9 a.m. and I said, we have to go to the hospital. There's something wrong. There's something off.
You knew.
I knew.
You read your body, you knew. And that wasn't coming from fear. It was coming from deep within. You just knew, and you listened to that inner voice. And I love that. And I don't think we listen to that enough. So, but you were open to hearing that. You weren't so stubborn to say, oh no, that's not my plan. Your body was saying, hello, there's something not right. And so you ended up going to the hospital, right?
I used my tools in my toolbox and it wasn't working. It was how many hours of very intense labor. I was still only dilated to 1.
Wow.
And I said, look, I'm using these tools. There's no progression. I'm in an intense amount of pain. For those of you who have ever been in labor, I mean, I did not have a voice for 3 days after that delivery because I was screaming so loud and my husband's going, oh my God, So I said to the midwife, I think we need to go to the hospital. She said, I think you're right. And in talking with her after the delivery, she said in most situations, she would have encouraged the woman to try different things and to keep kind of going because it's my first baby, it's my first delivery, and it does take the longest to get from 0 to 6, dilated and all that stuff. But she said, you already did all of that. You already tried all the things I would have told you to try. And so she said, I felt really good when you told me you wanted to go to the hospital, and I agreed with you. We went to the hospital. I was dilated to 4 when we got there. So we were like, awesome, progress, like great. I initially did not want an epidural. The second we got in the hospital, I was like, give me the epidural because I was exhausted. I was tired. And I knew that if I could relax and get myself back to center, that it would be beneficial for the baby and it would be beneficial for the delivery. And so, yes, I did make a decision to get the epidural and to take the drugs when normally I wouldn't do something like that. But it was about delivering the baby in a safe, happy, calm way. And I was tired and I was in pain. So I made the decision for the epidural. There really wasn't a lot of progression for the next however many hours. We tried Pitocin. I did not want to try Pitocin, but at the time, we weighed the pros and the cons. We talked about what was going on. God blessed me with an amazing doctor and an amazing staff. They didn't pressure me into anything. I asked a lot of questions, and they were like, oh my gosh, like here's this girl like going through all these hours of labor on the epidural now, firing like, well, what about this? And how do you think about that? And just all of these questions, they were like, you were just like on the ball. And the OB said, listen, you're asking a lot of really great questions, and I love that. Now, God put that OB in my path because I've also had doctors that I have asked questions and they get upset because they think I'm questioning them.
Right.
I'm an analytical person. I'm a thoughtful person. I want to know all the different variables, right? Pitocin, we tried it. It didn't work. Okay. It wasn't an emergency situation, but we did start talking about a C-section. I asked that doctor, tell me exactly what you're going to do. I mean, she literally, like to the T, I was asking her details. I want to know what happens when you open me up. She said, I'm going to open you up. I'm going to move your bladder. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I wanted to know the details, right? To the point, I did decide to do the C-section, and it's just hilarious because I'm laying on the table, the sheets covering you so you don't see your stomach. Right. Your arms are like out like this. And I'm asking the doctor, I'm like, how's it going down there? I said, what are you doing now? What organ are you moving? It's like asking her for like a play-by-play on like what's going on, like down there. It's funny, but that's just the way I want to know, right? That's the way my mind works. But when I made the decision for the C-section, which is like the absolute last spot I thought that I would be at, it's not what I planned. I just focused on, I want my baby healthy and happy and delivered. And at the end of the day, I could keep going for a few more hours and see if this, labor is going to progress, see if the contractions are going to intensify. I could wait it out. Well, if I waited out, the baby might become stressed. He was not in a stressed state at all. There was no emergency. There was no reason we had to get in there and do a C-section right now. So for us, I talked with Brandon. We made the decision to do the C-section. We would rather do a C-section where he is safe and it's not an emergency, because it's always better to go into a surgery that's not an emergency. We decided to do it. And after the C-section, I found out that I had a heart-shaped uterus.
And that was the reason why you probably would have never been able to deliver.
So your uterus is like this, usually like pushing. Mine was a heart. So one side is pushing and my baby's stuck in the canal with his head crinkled, and the contractions are not strong enough to get him down that canal. So we never would have delivered vaginally. Had I waited for those few hours, it would have been an emergency C-section, most likely.
Then you have the baby in distress, you're in distress. There's all those risks that come with that. And you actually got the answers because, number one, you listened to your body, you listened to your inner voice, you asked great questions all along. You listened to your body, you listened to the inner voice. You conferred with your doctors, whether they were, medical MDs or they were holistic healthcare providers. And you created a journey of life that was unbelievable. And your little baby is how old today?
He's 10 weeks.
10 weeks old.
And I want to say that there are blessings in the journey. And sometimes when we are in the moment, we don't feel like the difficult moments are a blessing. And they are. There are blessings in those difficult moments. What is the blessing of having somebody very close to me be so negative? Well, there's a blessing in the fact that I can be confident in myself, that I can stand stronger in my faith, that God never tells us there will not be storms. He tells us he will be with us through the storms. And if you can focus on that and get through that, now look how many months later, years later, I have this beautiful miracle baby. The moment that I found out maybe I wasn't going to get pregnant, I did, I had a bottle of wine, I got upset, but the next day I picked up, I got stronger in my faith. There's a blessing in the journey, whether it's a happy moment or a sad moment or an angry moment or a questioning moment or a fearful moment. If you have the mentality of there's a reason why this is happening and there's a blessing in the journey, that to me is how I got through it, because I always just took myself back to the spot of God is with me. There's a reason this is happening. And now later down the road, I realized what the blessing was. When we went through the fostering journey and we were trying to get licensed to foster, there was a hiccup that stopped the process. We were supposed to have a foster child in our home in the month of April, and we did not. There was just delays in the paperwork. Our licensing coordinator stopped working there. We couldn't reach her for several weeks. I broke my wrist. I fractured my wrist in 2 places. And I was like, oh, that's why, it didn't work out that we got this foster kid, because now I got this broken wrist and I wouldn't be able to really fully take care of him anyways. And so I looked at it like that. Well, wouldn't you know, April is actually the month that I conceived.
Imagine that. I don't think there's any coincidences. No. I also heard through your whole story, there's a lot of gratitude.
Yeah.
That you had gratitude every day, even through tough times, you found a way to have gratitude. And when we have gratitude, we can't feel sorry for ourselves, can we? When we have gratitude, when we're looking for something to be grateful for, it's hard to be sad and grateful at the same time. It's hard to be mad and grateful at the same time. You look for the blessings and the gratitude. You have just given so much hope for people to hear that it's possible if we truly want something. Does it always happen? Not necessarily, but should we give it a try? Should we look at other options? Should we look at what might help us? And Lindsay, I would love to have you back, and let's do a part 2 where we actually get into what you did to heal your body, what Brandon did to heal his body, to get you guys ready for conception, and then how you continued that journey through pregnancy. You didn't say, oh, I got what I wanted and now I'm jumping off the bandwagon. You knew that was important. So I think that our listeners would love to hear exactly what you did, because some of them may be on the same journey.
Sure, I'd love to.
I just, this is such an amazing story. And you're going to be 37 in a couple weeks. And, like you said, at 30, weren't married. You didn't have a family. You were still happy, but that was not your plan. You thought you'd have all of that by 27 and you didn't, but you kept going, and you still had hope, and you still had faith, and you still looked for the blessings, and you looked for the gratitude. And this is what I want us to hear, that we don't always get to make the plans. We have to, like you said, be in the moment on the journey, and you've done that. So you've been a blessing to myself. I've watched your journey. You and I've had conversations before about your healings and things that you've done through your pranic healing. And we're going to talk about all of that in the next, with your meditations and your pranic healings and all of these things that you've done to physically, spiritually, emotionally heal yourself. and as well as Brandon. So with that said, thank you, Lindsay, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here and part of what you're doing, giving people hope.
And you gave people hope. So thank you for sharing your story. I was thrilled that you said yes. And I do want to dig into this meat and get some more, basically some step-by-step things, and maybe even where they can go to get some direction and guidance. And I think that will be great for our listeners. With that said, everybody, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Until next time, we're going to have Lindsay back for part 2 on this journey to life and how she and her husband healed themselves and able to have a baby that they were told they may never have. So with that said, thank you for being here. Remember, we are women empowered. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of We Are Women Empowered. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. For additional resources and podcast information, please visit us at wearewomenempowered.com.